Welcome to Galactic Tales YT, where the world of science fiction comes to life through powerful stories, emotional journeys, and breathtaking adventures across the stars. When two alien children begged a giant human for help, his response shocked everyone. The stars had always been silent friends to humankind, distant, bright, and peaceful. For generations, people believed the universe was empty of monsters. They were wrong. The monsters came quietly at first. It started with a message, no words, just static, broadcasted across every frequency near the human frontier. Then came the ships. They appeared above Erebus Station, black as void and shaped like blades. Within minutes, the station's defense grid went dark. The next hour, so did the screams. When the transmission finally reached Earth, it lasted only 7 seconds. 7 seconds of chaos, a burning corridor, a voice yelling, "They're not here to talk!" Then silence. The calm before the fire in the mining colony of Eidolon 4, life was simple. People worked, ate, argued, and dreamed beneath artificial suns. Nobody there believed the war rumors. Humanity was everywhere now, on moons, on worlds, even in deep orbit colonies. If someone attacked one, the fleet would come. That was what everyone thought. Then one evening, the sky tore open. The Zalarians descended, tall insectoid beings with 4 arms, cold mirrored eyes, and armor that pulsed like living skin. They didn't invade with words or warnings. They just harvested. Their weapons didn't shoot. They drained. From orbit, it looked like the colony lights were flickering. Up close, it was millions of people dying in silence. The survivors' message captain Ryan Holt, commander of the cargo ship Wanderlight, wasn't supposed to be a soldier anymore. He was hauling ore when he saw the attack. His crew begged him to run, but he turned the ship toward the colony anyway. "We can't help them," his engineer shouted. Ryan's hands were steady on the controls. "No, but we can warn the rest." He dived through the debris field, his hull burning, recording everything. The ships, the weapons, the faces of the dying. His transmission reached only one relay before the Wanderlight was sliced apart by an energy beam. But it was enough. That transmission, the one humans later called the Holt recording, played on every screen on Earth that night. It showed the truth, and for the first time in centuries, humanity remembered fear. The spark of rage on Earth, the Global Council gathered in silence. They had no plan, no diplomacy, no idea what the enemy wanted. Then a woman stood up from the back of the hall. Her name was Admiral Mara Kessler, retired war hero, once dismissed as too ruthless for peacetime service. Her voice was cold as steel. "They want our worlds. They think we're too soft to fight back. Let's prove them wrong." That one speech lit a fire across the human colonies. Old fleets were reactivated. Veterans returned to duty. Factories that once built pleasure liners now built gunships. Scientists reopened banned research, AI war coordination, gravity bombs, biometal armor. Humans had always been adaptable, but now they were angry. The first stand, the Zalarians expected another easy conquest when they reached Nova Athens, a lush world famous for art and peace. What they found was a nightmare. When they entered orbit, the human defense network was already waiting. Hundreds of small ships hidden among asteroids, running cold and silent. When the alien sensors passed, the ships woke. For the first time, humans used a new kind of weapon, kinetic lances, long rods of dense alloy launched at near-light speed. No explosions, no sound. Just pure, unstoppable momentum. The first Zalarian cruiser was sliced clean in half. The others followed. In 1 hour, humanity scored its first victory. They called it the Lancer ambush. The galaxy called it the moment the prey bit back. The message that shook the stars. A week later, a strange transmission spread across every known system. A human soldier stood in front of a cracked camera. His armor was scorched, his face streaked with blood. He looked into the lens and said, "We tried peace. We tried reason. But you came to our homes, you took our people. You wanted to see what humans do when pushed too far," he smiled. A broken, fearless smile. "Now you'll find out." That recording went viral on every channel. Even species who hated humans watched it and shivered. The Zalarian mistake. The Zalarian overlords laughed. To them, humanity was primitive, barely post-industrial compared to their empire. But arrogance is the first step to extinction. They didn't understand that humans didn't fight for conquest or pride. They fought for family. They fought for memory. They fought because someone had to make the monsters stop. And when humans fought for survival, they became something terrifying. The beginning of retribution, 3 weeks after the first attack. The stars above the ruined colony of Eidolon 4 flickered again. But this time, it wasn't Zalarians arriving, it was the Earth Fleet, led by the newly commissioned flagship Resolute Dawn. Thousands of ships formed a burning wave across the void. Admiral Kessler stood on her command deck, staring at the enemy fleet in the distance. "Signal to all units," she ordered. Her voice was calm, almost gentle. They wanted a war. "Let's give them one they'll never forget," engines roared. Cannons charged. Humanity, once peaceful explorers, now rose like a storm from the ashes. The unexpected war had begun. The hunters become the hunted. The Zalarian fleet once moved like gods through space, untouchable, ruthless, and proud. But that was before the humans learned how to fight them. Now the hunters were about to learn fear. Ghosts in the dark, the Zalarian warship Bloodtide drifted through the ruins of Nova Athens, its scanners sweeping the silent debris field. Nothing moved. No heat signatures. "No transmissions. Area clear," hissed the navigator. The commander clicked his mandibles in approval. The humans flee. They always flee. He was wrong. As the ship glided past an asteroid, something stirred inside the rock. Metal claws unfolded. Engines ignited with a flash of blue. The asteroid came alive. It was a hidden human warship, disguised and waiting. "Target locked," said a calm human voice through encrypted comms. 3 seconds later, railgun rounds tore through the Zalarian cruiser like thunder. The Bloodtide didn't even have time to scream before it was vaporized into stardust. A new message appeared on every Zalarian battle screen across the system. "You came to hunt us. Now we hunt you." Operation Iron Tide. In the hidden base of Fort Resolute, Admiral Mara Kessler stood before a massive holographic map. Dozens of red dots blinked, enemy fleets.
Hundreds of blue dots appeared behind them, human ships moving in perfect formation. "All units ready," reported Commander Lee, her second in command. Kessler's sharp eyes scanned the map.
Phase 1 begins. Make them think we're running again. It was the humans' new strategy. Deception, ambush, precision. No more massive space battles. No more frontal assaults. Instead, the fleet split into dozens of smaller task forces, striking from shadows and vanishing into silence. To the Zalarians, it looked like chaos. But to the humans, it was beautiful coordination, a dance of vengeance. The Baton, the frozen orbit of Haven 12, a small human freighter drifted aimlessly. Its distress beacon flashed weakly. Inside, Captain Ryan Holt's sister, Lieutenant Aria Holt, sat in the dark with her crew. "Any sign of them?" one whispered. "Just wait," Aria replied, her voice steady. "They always come for the weak." Hours passed. Then, at last, alien signatures appeared. 3 Zalarian interceptors closing in. "Prepare the net," Aria ordered quietly. As the alien ships approached, the freighter's hull panels slid open, revealing hidden launch tubes. In seconds, magnetic mines scattered into space. The Zalarians, confident in their superiority, flew straight into the trap. The explosion that followed was silent, but deadly. One interceptor shattered instantly. The others tried to retreat, too late. A shadow loomed behind them, a human stealth cruiser, the Holt's revenge. Aria smiled grimly. "For my brother," she whispered, and fired. The fall of the Overlord's pride across the galaxy, the once proud Zalarian Empire began losing control. Communications broke down. Entire fleets vanished. Ships entered systems and never came out. The humans didn't fight for territory. They fought for humiliation. A Zalarian warlord named Commander Krith watched the chaos unfold from his throne room. His advisor trembled before him. "The humans, they strike from nowhere. They destroy our ships, then leave without taking planets." Krith slammed his clawed hand on the table. "They are insects!" "No, my lord," the advisor whispered. "They are something else. They are predators." Krith turned toward the window, watching human ships blink in and out of hyperspace like hunting wolves. Predators. The word tasted bitter. The human secret in the deep laboratories of Titan Base, scientists worked on something called Project Lazarus. Only a few knew what it really was. Dr. Naira Vale, lead geneticist, stared at a glowing vial in her hand. Inside, a swirl of nanotech and bioplasma shimmered. "If this works," she murmured, "we can heal soldiers in seconds, regrow limbs, maybe even cheat death." A voice behind her spoke. "And if it doesn't?" She turned to see Admiral Kessler. The older woman's face was calm, but her eyes were tired. "Then," Dr. Vale said quietly, "we'll make sure it destroys our enemies instead." Outside, alarms blared. A scout ship had just returned from the frontier with terrible news. "The warning, Admiral," the scout pilot gasped through static. "We found something huge." The holofeed flickered, showing a dark silhouette drifting near the edge of the star system. At first it looked like an asteroid. Then it moved. The Zolarians had built a world ship, a massive living fortress powered by harvested human life force. It was heading straight for Earth. Kessler's blood ran cold. "How long?" 3 days, maybe less. Silence filled the command deck. Every officer knew what that meant. The Zolarians were no longer just raiding colonies. They were coming for humanity's heart. The flame ignites. The Admiral stood alone at the viewport, staring into the endless black. Then she whispered, "So this is it." Commander Lee stepped beside her. "Your orders, ma'am?" Kessler turned. Her expression was unreadable. "Prepare Operation Phoenix. We're going to strike before they reach Earth." "Ma'am, that's suicide." "We don't have enough ships. Maybe not," Kessler interrupted. "But they need to understand one thing." She looked out at the stars, her voice low but burning with iron. "You don't hunt humans. You survive them, if you're lucky." In the distance, fleets began to move. Engines roared to life. Across every human world, citizens looked to the sky and prayed. The Zolarians thought they were predators. They were about to learn what happens when the prey bites back. The Phoenix awakens. The human fleet hung in silence above the pale glow of Jupiter's storm clouds. Engines thrummed low, weapons primed, and every soldier waited for the word that could change everything. Admiral Mara Kessler stood on the command deck of the Resolute Dawn, her reflection in the glass like a ghost watching history unfold. In the distance, scanners showed the impossible shape of the Zolarian world ship, a moving mountain of metal and flesh, larger than any moon. "They're coming straight for Earth," Commander Lee said softly. Kessler nodded. "Then we meet them halfway." The fleet had one name for this mission, Operation Phoenix. A final gamble, a message written in fire. The calm before the storm, every soldier knew the odds. The Zolarian world ship carried enough firepower to erase continents. Its shields pulsed like a living heartbeat. But humans were stubborn creatures. They didn't care about odds. On board the Iron Star, Lieutenant Aria Holt checked her rifle, her fingers trembling slightly. Around her, Marines sat in silence. Some prayed. Some listened to old Earth songs. One man clutched a small toy spaceship. His son's. Aria broke the silence. "Remember what Admiral Kessler said. We're not fighting for glory. We're fighting for home." The soldiers nodded. Outside, a red light began flashing, the signal to launch. The approach, hundreds of human ships surged forward like arrows of light, engines burning white. The world ship loomed ahead, its black surface alive with alien movement. Millions of Zolarians crawling like insects on armor. Inside the ship, the alien overlord Vraxon, successor to the fallen commander Vix, watched the radar display with amusement. "Pathetic," he hissed. "They bring insects to fight giants." His second-in-command twitched nervously. "But the humans? They have destroyed 6 of our fleets." Vraxon silenced him with a single glance. "Then we shall destroy 7. But as he spoke, something unexpected happened. The human fleet split, half diving toward the world ship, half vanishing from sensors entirely. "What?" Vraxon leaned forward. "Where did they go?" Too late, he realized. They were already underneath the ship. The hidden strike. Beneath the world ship's enormous hull, human stealth cruisers activated EMP charges. One by one, the alien sensors flickered and died. EMP grid active, reported Captain Rayner from the Shadow Wing. "We're in their blind spot." "Perfect," said Admiral Kessler's voice over comms. "Light the match." The humans released swarms of nanite torpedoes, tiny machines carrying plasma cores. They burrowed into the ship's underside, silent as ghosts. Then they waited for the signal. Above, Zalarian ships scrambled to respond, but their own sensors were jammed. They fired wildly, hitting their own fleet in confusion. The battlefield turned into chaos. "Fire in the sky now!" Kessler ordered. The torpedoes detonated. The explosion lit the void brighter than the sun. Whole chunks of the world ship's lower hull peeled away, glowing molten red. Inside, thousands of Zalarians were ripped into the vacuum. From Earth's orbit, the explosion looked like a new dawn, the Phoenix Flame. The name humanity would give it later. On board her ship, Kessler gripped the railing as the shockwaves slammed through the fleet. "Report!" she shouted. "Half their shields gone," came the reply. "We did it." But the cheer didn't last long, because the world ship was still moving. The monster awakens deep inside the alien fortress. Vraxon rose from his throne, unhurt but furious. The veins in his armor glowed like lava. "Fools," he hissed. "You cannot kill a god." He pressed his claws into the control altar. The entire ship shuddered. Massive vents opened across its hull, releasing a swarm of smaller drones, living machines forged from human and Zalarian DNA. They screamed through the void, tearing into human ships like a hurricane of steel. On the Resolute Dawn, alarms blared. "We're surrounded!" Lee shouted. Kessler narrowed her eyes. "Not yet. We still have one card left." She turned to communications. "Patch me to all units." The Admiral's speech. Every surviving human heard her voice through static and fire. "This is Admiral Kessler. If you're hearing me, you're still alive, and that means you still have a chance. The Zalarians think they're gods, but gods don't bleed. And I've seen them bleed." Her voice hardened. "We don't fight for power. We fight because someone tried to take our right to exist, and that's the one thing humans never give up." She paused, her gaze locked on the monstrous world ship ahead. "So, soldiers of Earth, let's show the universe what happens when humanity rises from the ashes. Phoenix Wing, ignite." The flame rises at her command. A new formation of ships broke from hyperspace, sleek silver vessels carrying experimental Lazarus cores, the same technology born from Dr. Vale's secret lab. These cores could do the impossible, redirect raw energy into regenerative pulses. When one ship fell, another absorbed its power, growing stronger. The Zalarians had never seen anything like it. One by one, human ships that had been crippled moments earlier reignited, their hulls glowing with white fire. Their cannons roared, cutting through the alien swarm. Admiral Kessler watched as the Resolute Dawn systems overloaded from energy feedback. Sparks flew. Panels exploded. But she didn't flinch. "Stay on target," she ordered. "We end this now." Below them, the crippled world ship began to tilt, its gravity fields failing. Entire continents of alien metal started to fall inward, collapsing under their own weight. Kessler's final command echoed across every frequency. "You wanted to see what humans do when they burn? We rise." As the world ship's core detonated, light swallowed everything. White, endless, blinding light. When the glow faded, half the human fleet was gone. But the world ship was nothing but dust, and somewhere in that debris field, the beacon of the Resolute Dawn still blinked. Echoes of the fallen space was quiet again. Too quiet. The great Zalarian world ship was gone, torn apart in a storm of white fire. Its ashes drifted across the black sky like glowing snow. But victory in space never smells sweet. It smells like smoke and loss. The silent battlefield commander Lee floated through the shattered bridge of the Resolute Dawn, her boots magnetized to the twisted floor. The air recycler hissed weakly, trying to keep the last survivors breathing. "Anyone alive?" Her voice echoed in the broken hall. A flicker of light answered her. Admiral Mara Kessler, burned but breathing, lay half-buried under fallen debris. Lee rushed forward, pulling her free. "You did it," Lee whispered. "The world ship's gone." Kessler opened one bloodied eye. "At what cost?" she murmured. Through the cracked viewport, They could see the wreckage of hundreds of ships, human and alien, drifting together in silent death. The stars looked dimmer now. Somewhere out there, a black box beacon blinked weakly, signal active. Survivors detected, but what it carried was not human, the ghost. Signal far away, in the communications bunker of Fort Resolute, a young operator named Tariq Sloan leaned over his console. A strange frequency pulsed through the static, soft, rhythmic, almost like breathing. "Admiral," he said into his headset, "I've got something." "A repeating pattern coming from the wreck field. Survivor distress beacon?" came the reply. "No, ma'am," Tariq said slowly. This isn't human. And it's not Zalarian either." He played the signal aloud. It wasn't words. It was a low melodic hum that made the lights flicker. On the audio monitor, it formed symbols, unknown shapes that seemed to move on their own. Tariq swallowed hard. "Whatever it is, it's alive." Beneath the ashes hours later, a rescue team from the surviving fleet reached the ruins of the world ship. The lead ship, Horizon Lance, sent down drones to scan the debris. At first, they found only wreckage, broken armor, shattered drones, and frozen alien bodies. But then the drone's scanners picked up something strange. A pulse. The crew watched in silence as a piece of the alien core, half melted, half alive, began to move. "Captain," one officer whispered. "The core's regenerating." The captain's eyes widened. "Impossible. We destroyed it, but it was true. The Zalarian world ship hadn't just been a weapon. It had been a living entity, grown, not built. And even shattered, its heart still beat faintly in the cold vacuum. The humans recovered the fragment, sealed it in a containment chamber, and took it back to Titan Research Base for study. That was their first mistake. The cost of victory on Titan, Dr. Naira Vale, the same scientist who had created the Lazarus core, stood before the captured fragment. It pulsed with faint light, whispering in strange frequencies no human could decode. Her assistant frowned. "We should destroy it." "No," Vale said quietly. "If it's still alive, we can learn how it survived. Maybe we can use it to rebuild faster, heal faster." She didn't see the faint tendrils of mist curling from the containment glass, reaching toward the power conduits. The Admiral's burden, Admiral Kessler, now recovering aboard the medical ship Eden's Hope, stared out the window at the ruined battlefield. The doctors told her she'd saved billions. They called her a hero. But all she saw were ghosts. "Report from Titan, ma'am," Lee said, entering the ward. "Dr. Vale says they've found something in the debris. Some kind of biological remnant." Kessler's gaze didn't move. "Tell her to destroy it." "She won't. Says it's vital for reconstruction efforts." The Admiral turned then, eyes cold. "Every time humanity plays with alien power, it ends the same way. Tell her if she won't stop, I'll burn that base myself." But by the time the message reached Titan, it was already too late. The awakening deep beneath the labs, power systems began failing one by one. The fragment pulsed faster, feeding on the station's energy. Dr. Vale watched in awe as it changed shape, forming long, elegant tendrils that reached toward the observation glass. "Beautiful," she whispered. Then the lights went out. The alarms began to wail. The containment field collapsed in a burst of sparks. And from the darkness, something spoke. Not in words, but in thoughts. "We remember you, children of fire." Vale stumbled backward, clutching her head. The voice was everywhere. Inside her mind, inside the walls, inside the power grid. The Zalarians were not the first. They were our shadows. And then she understood, this thing wasn't Zalarian. It was older. Much older. The new threat back aboard the Resolute Dawn, still limping through space. The surviving fleet received a final transmission from Titan Static. Screams. Then Dr. Vale's terrified face appeared on the main screen. "It's not dead. None of it was dead." They were serving something. Something deeper. The feed cut out. Moments later, sensors picked up a massive energy surge near Titan. The planet's atmosphere flared with unnatural light before going completely dark. "Titan is gone," whispered Lee. Kessler said nothing. Her eyes turned toward the distant stars, where the signal had first been found. If the Zalarians were servants, she said quietly. Then the masters are waking up. The room fell silent. Every soldier, every technician, every survivor felt the same chill in their bones. The war wasn't over. It had only just begun. The ones who sleep beneath the stars, the destruction of Titan Base should have been the end. But in space, endings never stay buried. They echo. And 3 days after Titan's silence, those echoes reached Earth. The unnatural signal it started as a whisper in deep space. Faint, rhythmic, too perfect to be random. It repeated every 43 seconds, always the same 3 tones. Every observatory caught it. Every scanner recorded it. No one could explain it. When the United Earth Science Council decoded the pattern, they found coordinates. Not near any star or planet, just empty void at the edge of the known galaxy. Admiral Mara Kessler, still recovering from her injuries, stared at the data. "Who sent it?" she asked. Dr. Elian Rourke, lead astrophysicist, hesitated. "Ma'am, it came from below the galactic plane. From inside the dark zone," Kessler frowned. "Nothing lives there," Rourke met her eyes. "Then something's waking up there." The Ghost Fleet Admiral Kessler ordered Task Force Echo to investigate. 20 ships, mostly survivors from the Phoenix War, jumped through hyperspace toward the coordinates. Among them was the Iron Star, commanded by Lieutenant Aria Holt. "After Titan, the crew's been on edge," her co-pilot said quietly. "You think this is connected?" Aria looked out the viewport at the endless black. "Everything's connected. We just don't understand how yet. The fleet dropped out of hyperspace near a dead region of space. No stars, no light. Only a faint golden glow far ahead. Contact," a voice reported. "Object detected. Massive, but not metallic." Then they saw it, a structure the size of a continent floating in the void. It wasn't made, it was grown. A lattice of stone and bone, pulsing faintly with light like a heartbeat. The humans stared in silence. Aria whispered, "That's no ship." Kessler's voice crackled through comms. "All vessels, hold position. No one approaches until we scan it." But scanners didn't work. Every pulse came back scrambled, as if the object was alive. The waking tomb doctor. Rourke joined the Admiral on the command deck, pale and trembling. I ran the signal through translation software. "It's not random, it's language." "What does it say?" He swallowed hard. "It says, 'We remember the builders.'" Kessler's blood ran cold. "The builders of what?" Before he could answer, the structure stirred. The golden veins across its surface flared bright. Space around it rippled like water. And from the cracks between its plates, shapes began to crawl out. Massive, elegant creatures of shadow and light. "Are those Zalarians?" Someone gasped. "No," Rourke whispered. "Those are the ones who made them." The first contact. The creatures moved like mist but shimmered with impossible geometry, part living matter, part energy. Every sensor failed. Every weapon flickered offline. A voice, not sound, but thought, filled every human mind at once. "We built the Zalarians as tools. You destroyed our tools." Admiral Kessler clenched her fists, forcing herself to stand against the mental weight pressing on her mind. "Who are you?" she demanded aloud. "We are the architects. We shaped life before your son was born." The voice paused, almost curious. "You burn bright, humans. Too bright. It draws our attention." Kessler felt something digging in her memories. Titan, Nova Athens, the Phoenix Flame. They were reading her mind. "Get out," she growled. "You fight like fire. Unpredictable. Dangerous. That cannot be allowed." And then the connection broke. Every human ship shuddered as the architects unleashed a wave of energy. Systems shorted out. Engines screamed. Half the fleet vanished into silent fire. The last stand in the dark, shields failing. Aria shouted as her ship spun out of control. "Reroute power to the reactor." Her engineer yelled back. They were being pulled toward the structure by a gravitational field. Aria's heart pounded. "Admiral, they're dragging us in." Kessler's voice came through static. "Hold position. Do not engage." The transmission cut off. Aria gritted her teeth. "I'm not dying in someone else's experiment." She hit the manual override and fired the ship's last torpedoes straight into the structure's glowing core. The explosion rippled like a heartbeat. But instead of breaking apart, the structure absorbed the blast. It glowed brighter. "You cannot destroy the roots," the voice whispered again. "You are part of the garden now." The impossible discovery. Just before the Iron Star lost power completely, one of the science officers gasped. "Ma'am, the structure's readings. Some of that DNA matches us." Arya froze. "Human DNA? That's impossible." "No, ma'am. It's not exact, but close. It's like we were modeled after them." For a heartbeat, everyone on the bridge went silent. Then Arya whispered, "They didn't just build the Zalarians. They built us too." The message home hours later, only 3 ships limped back into known space. The rest were gone, absorbed, destroyed, or simply missing. Admiral Kessler recorded her final report with a shaking hand. "We found them. The ones who created the Zalarians. They call themselves the architects. They see us as their descendants, or their mistakes." She stared into the camera. "They're coming not to conquer, but to reclaim. And I don't think we can stop them." The transmission ended. The screen went black. Far across the galaxy, the golden structure stirred again, spreading light through the dark zone like cracks in glass. The architects were awake, and humanity had just become their next project. When gods remember, the architects didn't come with fleets. They didn't need to. They came as light, golden storms sweeping across systems, rewriting everything they touched. Planets, moons, ships, even air itself changed shape under their will. To them, creation was just another language, and now that language was rewriting humanity. The second dawn on the scorched ruins of Titan's orbit. The first sign appeared. A single Zalarian corpse rising from the ashes, its shattered armor melting into a pool of glowing liquid. That liquid began to move, forming symbols across the ground, the same symbols found in the architect's transmissions. Above it, the stars rippled. The light twisted and formed shapes, tall, luminous beings walking through the air as if it were solid. A terrified miner watching from a nearby satellite whispered, "They're making more of themselves." The transmission cut to static. The return of the Admiral Mara Kessler stood inside the war room of Fort Solace, Earth's new command citadel built deep under the Andes. Her face was pale, but her voice stayed calm. "We've lost 4 colonies in the last 72 hours, she said. "No warships detected, no invasions, just transformation." The architects arrive and everything starts to change. Commander Lee leaned forward. "Change into what?" Kessler looked at the hologram. Worlds glowing gold, oceans turning to crystal, clouds freezing mid-air. "Into whatever they remember," she said quietly. "They're rebuilding the galaxy the way it used to be before us. Project Prometheus deep beneath Mars. Scientists worked in secret on a desperate idea. Project Prometheus. Dr. Elian Rourke, the man who decoded the architect signal, led the team. "We can't fight gods with weapons," he said. "But maybe we can become something they can't predict." The plan was reckless. Merge the Lazarus technology with captured architect code to create a new kind of human, one who could survive the rewriting of reality itself. His assistant hesitated. "You mean mutate us?" Rourke's voice was grim. "Adapt or vanish. Those are the only choices left." He injected himself with the first prototype serum. His scream echoed through the lab. The dream invasion that night. Billions of humans shared the same dream. They stood in a golden field beneath unfamiliar stars. In the sky above, a vast figure made of light and geometry looked down at them. A single being representing all architects. It spoke, not in words, but directly into every soul. "We made you in our image. You were meant to continue our work. Instead, you became something wild." The dream shifted. Memories not human, but ancient. The birth of stars, the first worlds, the rise and fall of civilizations before Earth even formed. "We remember the moment we left. We remember you forgetting. When humanity woke, many were crying. Some were praying, others were planning revenge." Rise of the transformed. 3 days later, the Mars lab went dark. Then came a transmission, grainy, full of static. Dr. Rourke appeared on the screen. His eyes glowed faint gold, his veins shining under his skin. "It worked," he said hoarsely. "The serum rewrites our cells. We can resist the architect's energy. We can walk through their storms." Behind him, soldiers stepped into the light, their bodies surrounded by a faint, shimmering aura. They were human, but something more. "We are Prometheus 1, Rourke continued, "and we're taking the fight back to the stars." The first counterattack. At the edge of the solar system, a golden veil began to form, the front line of the architect's arrival. Prometheus 1 led the charge. The transformed humans launched from Mars aboard the Ascendant, a ship built from both metal and living tissue. It pulsed like a heartbeat, powered by the fusion of human and alien code. "Target the core pattern," Rourke commanded. Not the light, the memory inside it. Their weapons weren't bullets or beams. They were sound waves of thought, vibrations designed to disrupt architect consciousness. The first wave of light fractured. The golden beings screamed, not from pain, but from surprise. Humans had learned how to hurt gods. When gods remember, in the heart of the golden storm, the central architect stirred. Its vast form bent forward as if listening. "They change again," it whispered to the others. "They do what we cannot. They adapt." One by one, the architects turned their gaze toward Earth, toward humanity's home, burning bright against the dark. "They are no longer children," the voice said. "They are rivals." On Earth, Admiral Kessler received Rourke's final transmission. His voice was calm, almost peaceful. "We can't destroy them, Mara, but we can remind them what they created." "How?" she asked. "By showing them something they forgot. Fear." And then the line went dead. Kessler turned to her command officers, her expression steel. "Prepare Operation Eclipse. We're going to make gods bleed." Outside, the night sky shimmered gold. And for the first time in history, humanity stood not against aliens or monsters, but against their own makers. Eclipse of creation, the stars were dying. Not fading, being rewritten. Wherever the architects passed, light bent, reality rippled, and the laws of nature trembled like fabric in wind. Whole planets turned to living monuments of gold and glass. But one system remained untouched. Sol, home of humanity, and the architects were coming for it next. The final countdown, Admiral Mara Kessler stood on the bridge of the Eidolon, Earth's last flagship. Her uniform was scorched, her hands bandaged, her eyes hollow from sleepless nights. Around her, every display showed the same thing, a golden wave approaching. "ETA?" she asked quietly. 6 hours, Admiral, replied Commander Lee. "Then they'll reach Earth's orbit." Kessler stared at the growing light on the main screen. "Then 6 hours is all we have to remind the universe who we are." From the surface, every continent had gone dark. Cities emptied, power rerouted into the orbital network for one purpose: Operation Eclipse, humanity's last strike. Operation Eclipse in orbit around the moon. Thousands of satellites powered up, each carrying fragments of stolen architect code, hacked and weaponized. Dr. Rourke's last invention. When activated, they would project a massive anti-mimetic field, a mirror that would feed the architect's memories back on themselves, forcing them to experience their own creation and destruction simultaneously. It wasn't a weapon. It was a reflection. "Systems charging," Lee said. "All arrays sync to the lunar grid." "We're ready." Kessler's hand hovered over the activation control. Her voice trembled, not with fear, but with something heavier. "Begin the eclipse." The arrival space rippled. The architects came not as ships, but as living constellations, walking through the void. Their bodies were made of light and geometry, their eyes the color of newborn stars. Earth's sky turned gold. On the ground, people watched in silent awe. Children clung to parents. Old soldiers reached for weapons that no longer mattered. Across the world, one thought filled every human mind: we will not kneel. The architect's voice echoed in every soul. "You were meant to build, not destroy," Admiral Kessler answered aloud. Her words broadcast across every open frequency. "We built ourselves. That's something you'll never understand." The eclipse begins, The satellites activated. A wave of black light erupted from the moon, sweeping across space. It wasn't darkness, and it was absence. A silence so deep it swallowed the architect's golden glow. One by one, the giant beings faltered. Their perfect shapes flickered, bending under their own memories. "What is this?" one of them whispered. "We see ourselves." The field showed them everything. The rise and fall of their empires, the pain of endless creation, the loneliness of gods who could make life but never live it. "We remember the silence," they cried. "We remember the end." Kessler's ship shuddered under the energy feedback. "Field is holding," Lee shouted. "They're collapsing!" But it wasn't enough. The largest architect, the Prime, raised its hand. Light speared through the darkness, punching through the Eidolon's shields. "Admiral, we can't take another hit." Kessler stared at the screen, at the massive being towering over Earth like a sun. "Then we don't," she said quietly. The human spark in that moment, the surviving Prometheus 1 soldiers, orbiting nearby, launched themselves directly into the Prime's core. Their bodies glowed with Rourke's serum, their blood burning brighter than any metal. They shouted one last message through the comms: for Earth, for the right to exist. The architect's body convulsed as human energy fused with its light. A chain reaction began, memory against memory, will against will, and for the first time in a billion years, the architects felt something they had forgotten: fear. The birth of shadows, the Prime's voice echoed across creation. "You defy your makers?" Kessler smiled through tears. "We always have." She slammed the manual override, channeling all of Earth's orbital power into the Eclipse network. The black light flared again, brighter than the sun, burning through the golden storm. The architects screamed as their forms unraveled into threads of light, spiraling back into the stars. Then everything went silent. No more golden glow. No more voices. Just the stars, cold, distant, and free again. The new dawn days later, Earth's sky was blue once more. The cities flickered back to life. Children laughed beneath a sun that no longer trembled. Admiral Kessler stood in the ruins of the Eidolon, staring at the horizon. Commander Lee approached quietly. "We won," Kessler shook her head. "No, we survived. That's what humans do." She looked up at the moon, half in shadow, half in light, and smiled. "Eclipse was never about ending them," she said softly. "It was about proving that even gods can't erase what we are." From deep space, faint readings showed fragments of the architects still drifting, weakened, scattered, but alive, and among them, one tiny human signal still pulsed. Rourke. If you enjoyed this video, like this video, subscribing, and clicking the bell icon to stay updated with fresh content every day.